interested.
Have you ever made a pot or a pan?
I have never made a pot or a pan.
Yeah.
I made a little copper, I raised a little copper dish that I put under an umbrella holder just to catch the drips, but that was just raising it out of a block of wood.
Yeah.
You know? But so, no, show me, man.
Yeah.
Lead me on. This is interesting.
All right, sounds good. Mark the center point. And the way this works, you don't want to wear tinted glasses if you're going to look at the arc. I'm never looking at the arc.
That's how I think about it.
So it's always underneath there.
Yeah.
So you just let the circle cutter guide you, and there's no need to look at the arc. So I don't wear the tinted glasses for it.
Yep. Beautiful.
So there's our disc.
Very nice.
Yep.
For me, one of the really compelling aspects of blacksmithing as a hobby or an avocation is the unique dynamic, at least I think it's unique to blacksmithing, of combining old and new technology seamlessly every day. For instance, a plasma cutter is a space-age metalworking wonder. I think the first time I saw one was on Star Trek when I was a kid. And along with TIG welders and induction forges and 2x72 grinders and, you know, everything else that we have in the 21st century, life is easier in a blacksmith shop. But without a hammer and an anvil, there are so many things that just cannot be done, and so much satisfaction that you're just never going to feel.
You're kind of just eyeballing it, honestly.
Ryan takes his business very seriously and has tooled up his forge to maximize his productivity and his quality. But his grinding room, I've got to say, is about the nicest one that I've ever seen.
It's a pan that I hand formed, and then I welded it on the inside of this piece of pipe, and it works. Yeah, it works great.
I love that squish.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the worst first, and we're gonna hit it down. And so I'll find the part that's like needs the most work, like maybe this spot. That's where I'll start, right here. And so I'll just get it in the groove there and just hit the worst part of it up. And you just kind of hit it down until that dimple goes away. And then you turn it, and you don't worry about, see that negative bump?
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave that alone, but I can see I'm gonna start hitting that part out a little bit right there. Start evening it out so it's trued up on the outside of the ring.
There are a lot of proverbs and maxims associated with the craft. And even in this age of machine tools and calipers, sometimes, as has long been said, a smith measures by eye, cuts it with a hot cut, and hammers it until it fits.
So at this point, what I do is I'll look at it here, and I'll see if it's totally even or if there's a high spot. And I can see there's a little bit of a like
up there,
the nose of the boat basically is up here. So you just kind of like float it in there, set her down, and then you get one shot, because if it doesn't work on the first time, you're not going to get it to line up the second time.
You only get one chance to make a good first impression.
Yep. So I give about 1, 2, 3 good pulls. And you can see it
Look at that.
comes out nice
Look
and
at it
even.
shine. Circling back to my comment about new versus old school, as effective as Ryan's hydraulic press is, this beautiful old fly press is unbeatable for several of the steps and processes that just have to happen when you're making a pan like this. Flat. Nice and flat. If you're watching me draw out this short taper on this piece of round stock and you're thinking, come on, Wadsworth, hit it, let me just excuse myself by pointing out that this is the first step in making a stainless steel handle for these pans. And stainless steel forges hard. It just does not want to move, even at a high heat when compared to mild steel. It's even noticeably stubborn under a power hammer. And as we flatten out the taper into a leaf shape and then draw out a flat taper for the handle, and as it cools off even to a medium orange, it pretty much just stops forging for this 100-pound little giant.
And I used to do oh yeah.
Nice. When a blacksmith is texturing his work, he's giving light a new place to reflect. It's that light and shadow interplay that gives hand-forged ironwork its unique beauty and appeal. And you know what? You just can't buy that at Home Depot. Just like when you're forging it, stainless steel doesn't like to drill either. So use a sharp bit, use lots of pressure, and use a very low speed. These are 3/16 diameter brass rivets. And when it comes time to put these things in, hammer control instantly becomes everything. Because these rivets are going to be in many ways the focal point of the whole piece. And the textured connection is providing both the strength and the beauty. So pay attention. Choke up on your hammer if you need to. Anchor your elbow against your side. Start with light blows. Then gradually, if you can, increase the frequency, increase the speed, increase the power, but pay attention, because a misstrike now can create a mark that is going to take a long time, a lot of effort, and perhaps be impossible to wipe out.
All right, well, that was a lot of fun. We got 6 of these pans hammered out, and the next step is to take them over to the seasoning oven, which if you're going to do it at home, you just use your oven and you heat it up to 550 degrees. You put some oil on there, a high heat oil. There's a lot of different kinds of high heat oil you can use, but we use grapeseed oil because it has a high smoke point. And so any kind of high heat oil works great. You cover it with oil and then you put it in your oven for 1 hour, and that basically puts a tempering on it and it bakes the oil into the pores of the metal. And then you pull it back out, and while it's still hot, you put 1 more coat of oil on there, and that is essentially seasoned. You can also season a pan just on the flame of your gas oven. Basically, you just need to get the pan hot and put oil on it. It's literally that simple.
So one of the things that I really appreciate about Ryan, it's been good to meet him, it's been just great to be in his shop doing this, is he's not stingy with his knowledge. And that is historically part of, at least in the last couple centuries, the last century and a half, when blacksmithing became kind of an anachronism, the blacksmithing community decided to share what it knows. And he has been that in spades. And having been familiar with this, I mean, I'm a blacksmith, very little of this was like brand new, although his mechanized approach was impressive. But this whole thing about seasoning pans, I had no idea about high smoke point oils or grapeseed oil or temperatures or time. And it's just an example of leaving here with something I didn't bring with me, that I'll always have with me now. And that's how knowledge works, and I appreciate that very much. He also is sort of sticking his toe into the water of having blacksmith courses here. So check out his online presence, his Instagram feed. He makes it easy to recognize and sign up and talk to him. I mean, you can communicate with this guy, and he's fun to work with. He's got good tools, so we're going to go over season these pans, right? That's next.
Yep.
And then maybe actually put one to work cooking something delicious.
Yep. And I've found I actually need a very large seasoning oven, because in the middle of the summertime, you don't want to be running your stove, and I season up to 15 of these at a time. And so I have bought a large commercial pizza oven to do the job. So we'll get to show you guys what that looks like. And you could use like coconut oil would be okay. It's another high heat oil.
And is that so that it doesn't burn off if you're like cooking at 350 degrees? It doesn't just like
you want a high smoke point oil. So anything.
What does that mean? Like oil like burns up into smoke? But
so like a low smoke point oil would be like butter. Butter is really low smoke point. You think when you get it up to like I don't know what it is, but 300, 400 degrees, it'll just burn up and it'll smoke.
Yeah.
And so the high smoke oil is it's just a different consistency, I guess.
Okay, so that's why just putting butter in your frying pan is not like maintaining the seasoning or like kind of keeping it.
No, it does. It does. Just the initial seasoning, you want to use a high smoke point oil.
Okay.
Or if you want to do a full re-seasoning. But to keep your pan properly seasoned, you just oil, like bacon grease or whatever is fine, you know. Just as long as
once it's tempered.
Yeah, once it's been tempered and has that initial seasoning. Anything oily, you just want to keep it oily, and not let it dry up. And then another thing to note is acidic foods will take the seasoning right off, like tomato sauce.
Oh.
So tomato sauce is really acidic, so if you boil tomato sauce in one of these pans, it'll completely strip the seasoning off. Which is not a problem, you could just re-season it, but it's something to note, like, oh, I cooked tomato sauce and then I tried to fry an egg and the egg stuck to it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Wow. And then in terms of just regular best practice cooking with these, it's don't wash it with soap. Just scrape it out with like a something scratchy, and that's kind of all you do, or
exactly.
How do you do it?
So basically the same rules for cast iron cooking apply to these carbon steel skillets. So you don't want to use soap. You want to use a chainmail scrubby. And those are easiest because they just get like bits and chunks that are stuck in there really good.
Yeah.
And then you could just hot water in the chainmail scrubber, get it all out. And then the way to sanitize it is to stick it back on the heat and get it up to above 200 degrees, and then boom, sanitized. One time there's this guy who's a customer of mine, and he's one of those really attentive guys who listens to what you tell him exactly, and maybe even too much. And so he never used soap, and he would re-season his pan every single time after he used it. I'm talking like a full re-seasoning every time after he's using it, because he's really obsessed over keeping it perfect. And one time he sent me this picture, and he was like, hey man, what's going on with my pan? I can't figure out. And I saw the picture, and it was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. It was like this layer of black stuff that had like heated up too much and started to peel off. So he had created this like outer shell of skin of this layers and layers and layers of seasoning, to where it finally like broke loose and it like started to peel off, like snake skin coming off. And I was like, okay, you got to back off on the seasoning a little bit. Like, it's okay to not, like, we never re-season our pans, because every time you cook with them and you use them, it's seasoned. The only time I've ever re-seasoned a pan is when we boiled tomato sauce in it. Yeah. And even then you can just heat it up and put oil on it and it's fine. This is the only time that we ever actually like fully season them. And really this is more just so it holds up during shipping, and it doesn't rust.
It's in good shape.
And it also gives it a really nice look. So you'll see when we pull these out, they're gonna be black and blue colored. Because the 550 degrees is gonna temper it to the like blue temper.
It's a spring temper.
Yeah, it's like a spring temper. So it gives it that nice like bluish color. And for pulling them out, I got a welder's glove.
Yeah.
So it gets hot in there.
Nate and I had a great time in his shop over the 2 or 3 days that we went up there and made these pans and had lunch and got better acquainted. And I know, as I watch this, that for some folks, this is familiar stuff. Maybe you live in an area kind of like this. Maybe you do these sorts of things or know someone that does. For others, what you're watching could be occurring on a completely different planet. It's utterly unfamiliar, and there's nothing like it anywhere near where you live. And for some of those, it looks like a lifestyle that can only be dreamed of. But the reality is that all of our lives are more similar than different. And it is a big, big mistake to overlook the beautiful aspects of our own life as we pine for the imaginary pleasures of somebody else who we only know from a distance. So if we're wise, we're going to cherish and grow the blessings that we have. And we're going to throw away the things that are holding us back. And we're going to keep our eyes open for the chances that come along to add the skills and the tools and the relationships that make our lives more useful, more worthwhile. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.